Okay, in this lesson we're going to talk about arm positioning when we're playing the guitar. So you should have seen in the earlier video the way to hold the guitar. So I'm going to talk more specifically how to use our hands and where to place our arms and things like that. So I'm sure, look, most of us, playing the traditional classical position gets a bit tiresome after a while. So we can play, I'll show you, how we can use the arms and the hands on the right leg when we're placing the guitar on the right leg. So, so the key things to look at is pretty much I'll talk about my right hand, the right arm first. So always remember, if you're left-handed, everything should be in reverse. So your right hand would be your fretting hand and your left hand would be your plucking hand. So in my case, my right hand is my plucking hand. So what you would need to do is bring the forearm and rest it in line with the bridge, okay? So making sure you've got even shoulders. So resting your arm in line with the bridge. We don't want to be in the situation where our arm is resting on the edge of the guitar, okay? I mean, bring your arm back more and then rest your forearm. It might feel a little bit awkward at the beginning, but once you get used to it, it will feel fine. So from there, making sure the guitar is elevated with a footstool or thigh rest and is in front of the body, so we're not having to rotate our spine, so we want to be in front. So from here, I would bring my right hand to the strings. So just from here, let your hand fall like that, and I want you to rest your thumb on the 6th string, your index on the 3rd string, middle finger on the 2nd string, ring finger on the top string, okay? So we want to bring the hand also to over the sound hole, okay? So we don't want to be too far back here or too forward over the fretboard. We want it roughly in front of the sound hole. So making sure that all the joints of the fingers are bent. We don't want to be too straight like this. The thumb is straight, so the thumb is more parallel to the 6th string. So yeah, and the hand, the palm of the hand is parallel to the strings as well. Like, you don't want to be too far back like this or too far forward like this. You want the hand to be parallel. Now when we talk about plucking the strings, we always aim for the very tip of the finger to follow through the strings. And yeah, so once the finger plucks the string, it should be moving towards the heel or base of the hand. The thumb, however, plucks more from the side edge, and it uses a circular motion. Key thing when plucking with the thumb is you want to make sure that the thumb is straight, okay, at all times. And the fingers always curled and bent when they pluck through the strings. At this stage, if you're a beginner, you want to make sure that like most of the exercises that you will play around this level, the thumb is playing the bass strings, that is the 6th, the 5th, the 4th strings, and the index is playing the 3rd string. The middle finger is playing the 2nd string, and the ring finger is playing the top string, okay? So that's what we're familiarizing with now. You want to be able to play those strings without looking at the hand as well. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're, looking at the hand to pluck the strings. So that's pretty much covering the right hand, how the right arm works, the right hand. Let's talk about the left hand now. So if I bring the left hand up, you want to make sure, again, it works by the same principles. You want to make sure that the base of your fingers, that part of the hand, is parallel to the neck. Okay? It might feel very awkward at the beginning, but again, once you get used to it, it will feel normal. Okay? So from there, we want to make sure that the relationship the fingers have with the thumb are in line with one another. So it's as if we're picking something up, okay? So we don't want the thumb to be supporting the fingers and pressing past the fingers. We want to make sure that the pressure is always towards the tips of the fingers. So pretty much we always want to try and maintain a square positioning for the hand. We don't want it to be too rotated like this, because again, the distance for the fourth and third fingers to move is a lot greater in that instance. When we square the hand like that, you will see that the fingers are in line and they all are prepared above the strings evenly. Now, the thumb again on the left hand has to be straight, and the wrists. Now, I forgot to talk about the wrists as well. On both hands, the wrists should be always straight as well. I mean, when you do things like this with the right hand or with the left hand, you know yourself doing that and then trying to move the fingers makes the fingers feel very weak. Okay, so always think about whatever positioning you use for your hands, your wrists have to be straight. Ideally, the ultimate goal when we play guitars, we've got to make sure that our fingers, isolated as possible. It's all in the tips of the fingers when we play, whether we're using left or right hand. So from here, I don't want to be having my thumb too high like this, because look what happens there to the wrist, okay? So it makes the fingers very weak, feel very weak. Again, I don't want it too bent like this. Again, it's not good position for the fingers. And in the long term as well, you can end up with some problems, RSI problems and things like that. Okay, so just when you play guitar, you think about things like this. When you're watching your hands and you're practicing, you're looking at all these key things, where the thumb positioning, how the fingers fret the guitar, things like that, okay? So once we feel comfortable, once we've got familiar with that positioning, the way the fingers fret the guitar, again, we want to make sure that all joints are bent, okay? So it might feel, fretting the guitar at this stage might feel might hurt a little bit, because if you're a beginner, because you may not have calluses. But again, once you build calluses, the pressure that's required to fret the guitar will be less and less. You won't need to press as hard because the skin's a lot tougher there on the tips of the fingers. Okay, so once we fret the guitar like this, we're aiming for the very tips, and we always think about placing our fingers just before the fret. At this stage, I want you to try and use your first finger for first fret, second finger for second fret, third finger for third fret, fourth finger for fourth fret, okay? Now, just a little sort of tip as well. The second and third finger usually come directly on the tip, while the fourth finger and the first finger usually fret the guitar more on the far edge of the finger, of the tip. Okay, and that's So in this instance, it's coming from the outer edge, yeah, on both fingers, the first and the fourth, like that, okay? That sort of creates a stronger fretting technique, you know? Again, also, you're wanting to look for isolation of the fingers, okay? So we don't want to be in a situation where I'm putting something down and I'm doing things like this, the fingers are twitching all over the place. We never want to be in the situation where the fingers are curling underneath the neck of the guitar. The fingers always have to be over the fretboard, ready to go, prepared. The least amount of movement the fingers make, the better. And that's especially in the cases where, you know, you fret when one finger does fret a note. What the other fingers do is very key on how quickly or how you know, smooth you play the next note. Because if the fingers are too far away, that next note, there might be some delay there. And it doesn't just apply to one finger, it can apply for whole chord shapes and things like that. I believe, like, getting the technique, understanding that from the very beginning is very key, because you will progress a lot quicker. If you develop really bad habits at the beginning, then they get more and more reinforced, and then trying to break those, you know, can be a bit of a nightmare. So that's all I pretty much want to say about the hands. I always reference to the technique on the hands, you know, if I'm going through pieces and things like that, or exercises, so don't worry too much about it. But that's pretty much it.